Navigating Lives, the podcast where we talk about life beyond being a wife.
My name's Ally, and this is my amazing co-host, Donna. Donna, how was your week this week?
My week was busy. I've been starting a cleaning business, so I have been super busy this week. How has yours been?
Oh, my week has been busy as well. I have been working really hard at editing our footage and trying to work through the ample technical difficulties that we have faced.
A lot of them.
Yeah, so a few of you guys have reached out to us and let us know that you are aware of our audio issue. We are totally also aware of our audio issue.
And currently working on to fix it. In the very near future, we will have better audio. And there goes our mic. Another technical difficulty. Loosen it and then retighten it. Okay. Where were we? We were talking about technical
Difficulties. And we have so many of them, as you can tell. But we are trying to face them head on and conquer them as they come. One of our biggest issues is obviously the means to be able to do it all at once. We are some broke bitches. We are stay-at-home moms on a budget.
The cleaning business to help financially support this right now.
Absolutely.
Along with you and your husband.
We are doing our best to make things happen as we can, but we appreciate your support and understanding along the way. So, do you want to tell them what we have coming up next?
Okay, we have an episode with our friend Ariel, and she is going to be teaching us a craft using polymer clay, which was so much fun.
It will be very fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. She is such an amazing person, and we are very lucky to be able to have the opportunity to work with her. She is a very skilled crafter and a successful entrepreneur and mom boss. So we are really looking forward to having her on our show and introducing you all to her. So be sure to stick around so that you can meet our guest, Ariel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back. We're here with our guest, Ariel. How about you tell us a little about yourself, Ariel?
Okay. Well, let's see. Currently, I run a couple different Etsy shops. I sell pottery, digital art, and also am working on a third shop selling digital invitations. I've been doing art since I was a little kid. I can remember just sitting in my room, drawing, painting, just whatever came to mind. And eventually I went on to go to school. I got a bachelor's in fine arts with a concentration in ceramics and art history. Originally, I'm from Louisiana, but I recently moved to South Carolina.
Do you like it in South Carolina? How's the weather?
Yeah, I love it. The mountains are great. The beaches are awesome. Weather is spectacular.
So, aside from living in North Carolina, do you have a spouse?
I do. I have a lovely husband. He was actually my high school sweetheart. We dated on and off for about 15 years, and we've been married for about 3 now.
Oh, that's such a beautiful love story, though. Do you have any children together?
We do. We have one beautiful little girl. She's about a year and a half. We actually found out that we were pregnant on Valentine's Day. And honestly, I took the pregnancy test just kind of on a whim. I wasn't even expecting it. I just felt kind of sick. So I decided, why not? And it was positive.
Oh, wow.
And I came out and I said, Happy Valentine's Day, sweetheart. You're a dad.
I bet he had to love that, though.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
an
he did.
irreplaceable Valentine gift. So, I know you have quite a dramatic birth story. Could you tell us a little more about that?
I do. Yeah, so after we found out that we were pregnant, the pregnancy went really well. I actually didn't really have any symptoms, and everything was going really great up until about 30 weeks. I started feeling a little off, started swelling, feeling faint, just really sluggish, not feeling great. And I actually went to my doctor every single day for a solid week because I knew something was wrong. I couldn't really feel her moving around a whole lot. And I felt terrible. And within that week of visiting the doctor, I actually gained about 10 pounds in 1 week. And that was kind of their clue that something was really going on. It wasn't just a worried mom or, being a first time mom. And
It's definitely a major indicator that something's
yeah,
wrong.
yeah. And it wasn't me saying, hey, something's wrong. It's me going, hey, you realize I've gained 10 pounds in 5 days, right? um,
That's your body telling them something's
yeah.
wrong.
So they actually wound up finally doing some tests. They ran some blood work. And basically, before the doctor even came in, um, they were letting me know that I was going to be going to the hospital. So I had early signs of preeclampsia. So they went ahead and sent me in to be monitored for the weekend. So this was a Friday. And I went ahead and went in. I drove straight there and I called my husband. I was like, hey, babe, I'm going to the hospital. I think we're going to be having a baby. And he goes, no, no, no. I was like, well, just bring the bag anyway, right? Bring the hospital bag. And he's like, nah, nah, it'll be fine. Yeah, he's like, I'll meet you up there. And so I get into the hospital and I'm there maybe 2 days and I start having contractions. My blood pressure starts going up and her heart rate starts going down. So with all of that happening, they finally decided, okay, we're going to have a baby. Um, they did have to do a C-section because she was transverse. So she was laying sideways. So it was an emergency C-section. So they let me know probably about 8 a.m. in the morning, hey, we're having a C-section today. And by 10 a.m., I was in surgery. Um, Now, a C-section was not what I wanted. I hate needles. And so the epidural was just terrifying for me. It was awful. I was a mess. Once they got started, everything went well from there. She came out. She was actually fairly large. She was 32 weeks, and she was close to 8 pounds at 32 weeks. So pretty big.
Full term, she would have been a little
Yeah, 10 or
chunk.
11 pounds. Yeah, yeah. Um, so that goes fine. They finish up. They roll me into recovery, and I'm there for less than an hour, and I start feeling really bad, really fast. I start throwing up. I start getting faint. Everything starts going dark. The next thing I know is I hear the nurses saying she's losing too much blood. Should we get the doctor? And that was kind of a scary moment. I'm getting sick. I can't even keep ice or water down. And then the next thing I know, they're rolling me back. They're putting a mask on my face, and I'm out. That's the last thing I remember for 3 days. Um, so I woke up 3 days later, barely, um, because a student nurse was literally shaking me, trying to wake me up, and I just couldn't wake up. And it was because during that second round of surgery, I had lost nearly all of my blood. They gave me 5 bags of blood, which is the legal maximum, I think, is what they said that they're able to give you. Uh, and because they gave me so much blood so fast, my lungs actually started to fill with fluid. So I wasn't able to breathe correctly.
That had to be horrifying. On top of an unscheduled delivery and surgery, you have to deal with
Yeah.
extra.
So I start to wake up and I realize I can't breathe. And I tell this student nurse I can't breathe. My husband's sitting next to me and I'm starting to freak out. I'm starting to panic because I feel like I'm drowning. I can't breathe. And they actually called a code. Um, and the next thing I know, there's like 20 people in my room. Um, they're hooking me up to machines. They're trying to give me oxygen. Nothing's working. And this also happened to be right in the middle of COVID. So I hear them debating what they're going to do because they don't have a ventilator available. They don't have anything to get me to breathe. And then this one doctor walked in. I still to this day don't know who he was. Um, but from then on, he sort of took control of everything, told everybody what to do, and everybody just sort of fell in line. And he pretty much saved my life. They ran me down to ICU a couple floors down, and on the way down, that had to be the scariest time of the whole thing because things started getting dark. Visually, I started to get really tunnel vision. Things started going dark, and I could just remember hearing the nurses saying that I was turning blue, that I wasn't breathing. Um, my husband is holding my hand, running down the whole way there, and they get me down to ICU, and they actually bring out a CPAP, which is usually used for people, while they're sleeping. It was the only thing that they had available, and so they turned it up as high as it could possibly go, and just basically forced oxygen into me. Meanwhile, my husband's still holding my hand, and um, at this point, my heart is just racing. It's nonstop, just going, 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 going. And they actually forced my husband out of the room at that point. I don't remember a whole lot, but I know I started to go downhill as soon as he left. And that doctor that saved my life actually said, no, no, bring him back. She's still fighting to live and she needs him here. And he came back and he held my hand. And actually, that was the very rare occasion that I saw him cry. Um, I'd never seen him cry before until that moment. But he held my hand the whole way. And I just remember just looking at his face and staring at him and just fighting as much as I could. Until they finally got my oxygen level up, I started to feel okay. Um, and I went to sleep after that. Um, I woke up a little bit later and I was doing a little better, but my heart was still racing. It was still going 90 to nothing, and there was nothing I could do to get it to slow down. And one of the nurses thought maybe I was just having anxiety from the trauma of everything that happened, so they tried to give me some medication to help calm me down. Um, but it didn't slow my heart rate. So they made a call to cardiology to have me checked out. So they did an ultrasound on my heart, and they discovered that while all of this was happening, I had peripartum cardiomyopathy. And I lost about 75% of my heart function. Um, so they hooked me up to a bunch of heart machines and they monitored me for about 5 days. And for those 5 days, I never got to see my daughter. She was in NICU because she was premature. And my husband hardly left my side. So I know he didn't spend a ton of time with her because he was terrified that he was going to lose me. Um, from what we understood, she was doing great and I wasn't. Um, there was an awesome nurse there that wound up going all the way up to NICU and taking photos of her and bringing it back down just so I could see her. Um, and I held on to those photos the whole time. And I remember after they wheeled me back up to labor and delivery, after I got out of the ICU, they held on to me for a little bit longer. But I was able to get into a wheelchair and go see her for the first time. And I was still so weak. I still had, barely any heart function left, but I was able to hold her. And that was just an amazing moment. Especially becoming a first time mom, you're kind of just staring down at this little baby that, looks just like you, looks just like your husband. And you're thinking, what do I do now? What's next? How do I take care of you? But things got better, and I was getting ready to go. They were getting ready to discharge me, and a nurse came to do a final check on everything. They checked my incision, they checked my heart, my oxygen. They said I'm good to go. And they brought me lunch. So I sat up while the nurse was still in the room. And I set up to eat the lunch that they had brought me. And I felt a pop in my incision. And it was painful. And I went, yeah, basically. I went, hey, nurse, I know you just checked that, but can you just take a look one more time? And she lifted up my little hospital gown and she got a look and she went, I'm going to get the doctor. And I was like, I'm not going home today. I had developed an incisional hernia, which is extremely rare. So I was basically bleeding under my skin where the incision was, and it developed into like this huge bubble. They called surgery up. The head of surgery came to see me because they thought it was an incisional hernia. They thought that the internal stitches had popped and that my internals were starting to come out. So they start pushing on it and twisting and tugging and saying, well, if we can get it back in, we won't have to do surgery. And it was the most painful thing. It was so painful because I just had a C-section and now they're pushing on it and twisting it and poking it, and eventually they took me down for a CT scan and discovered it was just a hematoma, which is basically like a really bad bruise at that point. And I was able to go home, but I still wasn't at that point really able to walk on my own or stand up without feeling really faint. Um,
That's totally understandable. You needed time to recuperate. You had just had a massive
yeah,
surgery.
absolutely. Um, but that first shower after getting home, I just remember just going pale white. My lips turned blue, and I was about to pass out. And I had to call my husband in to come help me out. And from there out, he wheeled me around in a wheelchair for about a month just to go see our daughter in NICU. Um, about a month later, we were able to bring her home and start our little life together. And I did have to wear a defibrillator for about a year, um, an external defibrillator.
So I know that you had said that you had experienced 75%
I kind
loss
of
of
went
heart
into
function. Was that a
so
permanent loss?
it was not permanently lost, and that's partially due to the fact that as soon as I was able to, I started getting up, I started moving, I started going on walks with my daughter, I started um, going up steps and up hills and whatever I could do without feeling faint. And I went further and further and further until I finally got cleared by my cardiologist. So I was able to gain back 100% of my function. Um, I'm fully recovered. And they said that it was less than a 20% chance of that ever happening. So I'm really grateful. Um, but I had my daughter to thank because she really, just being there encouraged me to try and be better and be healthier.
Children are truly the best motivators, and she's so
Oh,
lucky
yeah.
to have a parent who strived to get better. Ariel, I'm so thankful that you shared your story with us. Could you tell us a bit more about your art and your
Um,
favorite
I
medium?
think my favorite medium is definitely pottery. I fell in love with it in college. I started it as something just to do for fun. And before I knew it, I had a whole degree in pottery. Um, I've continued that
Wow.
on into my post college life. I have a home studio with a kiln and a wheel and everything that you need basically to just make whatever you'd like. So I make things like this little teapot and this little trinket dish. I find a lot of inspiration in nature, in plants. Um, I do a lot of digital art, a lot of abstract botanical paintings, leaves, flowers, that kind of thing. embroidery as a big inspiration for that kind of art as well.
You're such a talented creator. I've seen a lot of your work across a variety of mediums, and your work never ceases to amaze me. You've really come so far, and I've known you for a while, so I've been able to watch your art progress, and I've really enjoyed that. You've really come a long way as both a person, a mother, an artist. You've really grown, and I've really appreciated being here to watch that.
Hmm. Well, thank you. I really appreciate
Can
it.
we take a pause though? Because, oh my goodness, hold on, pause your thought. I need something to wipe my face because I am like, I was over there like sweating like a hoe in church. It's okay, I'm gonna edit all this.
Don't edit the hoe in church.
So, I hear you might have a craft to teach us today.
Yeah. So I thought it would be really fun to recreate this little dish here. It's one of the ones that I make all the time. It's a big seller, but it's also really easy to make, and you can do it with just some simple tools that you have at home and a little bit of polymer clay. So we'll go ahead and get started. So all you really need is a little bit of Hobby Lobby or Michael's. It's really cheap, 15 minutes. So we'll need the polymer clay, something to cut with. You can use a knife, a toothpick. I've got a little skewer, a paintbrush, a bowl, and some wax paper or parchment paper to keep it from sticking.
And you also
rolling pin.
sent us a template as well.
Yes. So some scissors and that template that I sent you guys. So just a little, yeah. And so the first thing that we're going to do is actually just cut out this template.
I'm not great at cutting them either.
See, I was going to do that a completely horrible way. I don't
Yeah,
know, I
it-
stick myself.
The whole thing is very much a learning process. When I started out, I started using just real leaves out of my garden. And sometimes I would get some incredible ones, and then sometimes not so great. And then one day I just had the idea, why don't I make a permanent one?
Yeah, that was smart.
So then they all look the same too.
Yeah, more uniform.
Now, after we have our template out, where do we go from here?
So we're just going to open up our polymer clay.
I think I can do this.
Scissors may be required. Mine was not cooperating.
Yay, one up.
And you probably only need one or two. If you're doing a larger one, you'll definitely need two.
It's a beautiful green shade.
It really is.
And yours is going to be like a fall tropical leaf. So do we need to knead it or anything?
Yeah. So you're going to need to knead it a little bit. And just for a couple of minutes, you're going to kind of loosen it up. I've worked a little bit with polymer clay. But like I said, my main medium is with ceramic clay.
Allie, nice. She's got a long way to go. I'm feeling more positive about this project already.
Yeah, once you get it moving, it really gets a little easier. You just got to get that stretch into it. And then, yeah, when you're getting close, you kind of just want to check. Might need to go a little bit more. I've dabbled in a little bit of everything, I think. By nature, I'm just a really crafty person. Always have been. Um, in high school and college, I worked in craft stores, so I kind of tried a little bit of everything. Candle making, soap making, but it's always been pottery that just really stuck with me, and it's been the one thing that I never really got bored with.
What drew you to it in the first place? How did you first get into pottery?
Well, it started in high school. So we had an amazing art teacher at our school, and
Miss Berthelot, right?
yeah, Miss Berthelot, because we
Her
did we
name?
went to high school together, and she was a ceramics major, so she loves ceramics as well, and
Oh, I never knew that was her major.
yeah. Um, she started to kind of implement a lot of ceramics into the high school program. And we started really playing with it just a little bit. And I kind of really enjoyed it. I actually wound up building a sculpture and it was submitted into a contest that I actually wound up winning. So I won a scholarship for college from a ceramic sculpture.
Wow, that's a great accomplishment. What was the sculpture of, if you don't mind
was
my
just
asking?
in high school. So it was a butterfly. It was for something called the Butterfly Project. And it was through, I think, the Jewish Foundation of America. And so it went to a little museum, I think, dedicated to the Holocaust for a little bit. And it was on display.
Did you wind up getting it back?
You know, I never did.
Cool. Well, what do you do other than crafts or hobbies to like wind down at the end of the day?
Oh, well, being in Greenville, South Carolina, if you've never been here, we are close to the mountains. We are close to the beach. And there's just never an absence of just like being surrounded by nature. So I go hiking. I spend a lot of time outdoors, gardening. I'm an avid gardener. I also do a lot of canning.
That's interesting. I've been learning to pickle. Do you pickle as well?
Yeah, so I actually just did some eggplant maybe 2 days ago. I did some pickled eggplant. And that's a recipe I learned from my childhood best friend. Her mom would always do pickled eggplant. And it doesn't sound that great, but my God, it is so delicious.
I'll have to try that one day.
I will too.
Sounds delicious.
I think I just
Oh,
have
that
just a
sounds
tiny
like
bit
a
more to go.
disaster.
Oh, yeah. And it's so rewarding because I also grew all of that in my garden.
Oh, nice. Fresh eggplant, even better.
Yes. I think the squirrels in my garden agree. They have taken their fair share this year. But this is also a really fun way to make Christmas ornaments.
This would be the perfect medium for customized Christmas ornaments. I also wonder if you'd be able to use cookie cutters.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I have a large range of cookie cutters that I use just with my regular ceramics. What I like to do is take the cookie cutters and cut out a shape and then use like a texturizer to put patterns or little dots. You're just going to round off those edges. The same with the holes. You kind of want those rounded. All right. Once you have your edges smoothed out and your holes nice and smooth as well, you're then going to take whatever you're using to cut and you're just going to very lightly draw the lines that are on your little template. You're going to take your bowl, you're going to take your parchment paper and kind of just put it over the bowl to keep it from sticking. And then you're going to put your leaf either inside or on the outside like you have, that works too. And just kind of shape it a little bit. And this just gives it a little bit of dimension. You don't have to do this, but I always like to. And like I said, that's exactly how I make. And once you've got your shape and you're happy with the holes, make any last little edits that you'd like to make. We're going to throw it in the oven. We're doing these at 275 for about 15 minutes. So we're going to paint our little leaves on the edges. With some gold paint.
Your leaf really turned out amazing, and we can't wait to show our viewers ours once we get back to the studio. Thank you again, Ariel, for joining us and being on the podcast today and telling us a bit about your journey.
Yeah, I had a really great time being on the show, and I hope everybody really enjoyed the craft that we did. If anybody has any questions about the craft, you can leave a comment and we'll get back to you. Otherwise, like I said, had an awesome time, you guys. Can't wait for next time. Bye.
Welcome back, guys. We just got done filming with our friend Ariel. We had a great time doing her craft, and she had a very interesting story.
She really did. She had such an inspiring tale to tell us, and it was great to see how far she's come, not only with her health struggles.
Oh, I know, that was so scary.
It was, but she's also came a tremendous way as an artist and a creator and an entrepreneur as well. And it was really good to be able to check in with her and see how far she's come with that.
It was a really good interview.
It was, and I'm glad that we were able to have that opportunity. And I'm so thankful that she met with us.
Me too.
It was really fun, and I think we made quite the craft with her.
We did. One of ours turned out way better than the others, but my poo-poo platter, because it will be going in my bathroom.
I think
I am
that,
glad.
personally, I think the polymer clay that she used didn't mix well with the brown pigment, because hers stuck more to
It
the
really did.
parchment paper than mine did, but mine did turn out quite cute. I really
The
like
green
it.
really looks pretty with that gold.
The green does
It
look
does.
really pretty. Low-key wishing that I would have painted the whole top gold, and I may go back in and do it one day, but I think it's really cute
I
as
think it
is.
turned out really good, and it's going to be a cute decoration.
It really will, and it was a great simple craft that was very easy to do, and I think it can be replicated easily for our
I think
viewers
most
at
people
home.
can do it. You art challenge people, you might want to pick a little bit easier of a template. I struggled with the cutting it out. Because my clay did stick, it was harder didn't quite fit. So I cut some edges.
I still think it turned out pretty good though.
It's going to be a great bathroom decoration.
At Newman
Hopefully
Throws on
next week
TikTok.
goes just as well because we have some great content coming your way. We have an episode planned with my husband, Gordon.
At Newman Throws.
He's going to teach us some awesome yo-yo tricks. Probably just the basics,
Yeah.
but he might show you something cool along the way too. So tune in next Wednesday so you can come along for the journey.
Bye.